You a quick little overview on using footnotes, Chicago style citations in Microsoft Word. And I really want to emphasize Microsoft Word because people always come up and ask about, what if I have Google Docs or what if I use any other platform? And I'm just going to tell you, just get Microsoft Word. As you can see, I have it downloaded on my computer. I would really recommend doing that. The web version is sufficient, but I've just found it super useful to just have it downloaded. It runs a lot smoother, and that way you're on the same page as your professors and everything. Because I will tell you, when I got to college, everyone told me get rid of everything Google. I mean, not get rid of it, but everything's gonna be Microsoft Word. So I would recommend making that switch now if you haven't already. I'm always out of breath doing these videos. So yeah, let's get into it. How to do it on Microsoft Word. So say I wanted to put in a footnote right here. I'm already here, but say you're on the Home tab, go to References. References is another word for citation. You're referring to a source, a reference. And then ignore everything else. Ignore insert citation, ignore anything. All you want to do is hit insert footnote. This right here has a little A, B, and then the little 1. That's your footnote. That is all you want to do. Do not get it confused with endnote. I've also had people get it confused with, if you go to insert, there's this footer thing. People think it's footer. It's not footer, and it's not endnote, okay? Just want to clear the air and put that out there. It's footnote, insert footnote. So all you do is click this, and boom, it does it for you, and then you'll just type it in. Pretty straightforward. And yeah, so just as long as you don't get it confused with anything else, you should be good on that. Okay, moving on. We have a source within a source. So as you guys saw with your first assignment, the thinking through the past, these are sources within a source. So we have the American pageant, Thomas Bailey. That is a source that is its own source, but it is included within this larger book, Thinking Through the Past. So Thinking Through the Past, this book from 2005, compiled these different textbook excerpts. So we have this number 1. This is our first source from 1927. Number 2, this is our second source from 1966. So these are sources within the big source that is Thinking Through the Past. So if we want to cite this, but also show that it is in this is what we're going to want to do. So I have an example here. This is something that you would need to cite. David Muzzy claimed that America is the child of Europe. And then I did a footnote. So let's go look at that footnote. This is the full citation of what you're going to want to do. And I have it up here too, the order. You go author, title, and it's italicized if it's the title of a book, and then it's in quotations if it's the title of a essay or an article. Sometimes you're not able to tell what it is, and it's we don't want you to go on a wild goose chase trying to find it. But that's a general rule. And I knew to italicize this because it actually has it down here. History of the American People. So that I know it's a book title, but if you're ever unsure, Yes, so I know that this is a book title because we know that these are excerpts from textbooks. So a textbook title would be italicized, just like any other book. And I do have an example here. This is just a footnote from another citation guide that I had on my computer. And here you can see why we do quotations on everything else. Like, for example, this is like a transcript from a speech. And then, a lot of books include essays within them, articles, journals, whatever you want to call it. So this just helps us differentiate because we know that this is like the speech transcript, and we know that whoever cited this found it in this book. So like we know that that's a book, and then we know that's included within the book. So that'll be helpful as you go along, just to know that book titles are italicized, and pretty much everything else, like if it's like an essay, article, transcript, you name it, it'll be in quotations generally. And yeah, so just commas after everything. We're including all the information we have about, oops, I'm sorry, I was playing around with ignore that. Just make sure you include all the information you have about that first source. And then you might be wondering why I'm not including this. Like down here, they cited this and like they had page numbers. We don't know the exact, like the only page numbers we are given here are for thinking through the past. Like these are the page numbers for thinking through the past. We don't have the exact page numbers. Like if I'm quoting America as the Child of Europe, I'm really not sure what page of Muzzy's book that is on. It really doesn't tell us. So I will not be including a page number from Muzzy. I'm only including the page number from the textbook because that's the specific one that we are given. So, yeah. So if there was a page number for Muzzy, like you could just pop it in there with commas, but we don't have an exact page number for that. So don't worry about that. Just put all the information you're given going in this order: author, title, year, page number, but we only have these three things. And then to show that it is in another source, you can say cited in or quoted in. Honestly, when I did my research paper in the past, I believe I just said in. I don't think I said cited in or quoted in, but that'll help you make it more clear, and there's no like one strict way to do it as long as you're showing that it is in this. So you could say cited in, quoted in, and then the rest is the citation for thinking through the past. And I just put the whole thing in there. We got John Hollitz, and then the whole book title italicized, and I put the whole thing. Some of you might just put like thinking through the past, but you want to put all the information because I'm going to get into the short versus long, but you're only really having to put this like one time. So I just put all the information, and then another comma, and then your parentheses with what we have up here. We have the city and a colon here, the publisher, comma, the year it was published, close the parentheses. I feel like I'm explaining like a math equation or something. I'm not good at math. And then a comma and page number. And then make sure you're ending that with a period, just so we know that that is done, it's over. It just makes it clear and legible, and that's just how you're supposed to do it. And really make sure you're putting all those page numbers. Page numbers are super, super important. So then that moves into short versus long, because you're like, oh my god, do I gotta put this every single time? I mean, you could just copy and paste it, but then it's like you're looking at your footnotes and it's like all this mumble jumble and you're like, what the heck's going on? So I cite Muzzy again up here. He also said that some Native American tribes were, quote, sunk in bestial savagery. So I'm going to quote that. But since I just put the whole citation right above here, I'm just going to do the short form, which I wouldn't even put his whole name. Just put his last name, Muzzy, comma, his book title, History of the American People, comma, page number. And since my quote spanned 2 different pages, see, sunk in bestial, oh, that's page 11, savagery, oh, now we're on page 12. If that ever happens to you, just do 11 through 12, because it's on both pages. Yeah. And then, oh yeah, why do we even use Chicago style? It makes it a lot easier. If you haven't noticed already, history is heavily focused on writing, and we deal with a lot of sources, a lot of sources. So it makes it a lot easier to just have that little number, and then I can just go down, number 2, oh, okay, that's where she got that from. Rather than having, because another thing too is, if you have the footnote, you don't need to do this. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that with the footnote, because the footnote replaces that. So rather than have all these things clogging up your text and this is just a pretty straightforward way. And then this gives us all the information, because a lot of times we're like, okay, well, what year was that? We have to conceptualize these things as we're reading. So if I read this and I'm like, David S. Muzzy claimed that America is the child of Europe. Oh, when did he say that? Go down here. Oh, okay, that was in 1927. So just helps. It's just helpful for the history people. And, we want to, it helps us put things in perspective, because time and place can matter a lot, So I'm like, oh, okay, this was a American textbook, okay, so just stuff like that. Or, oh, this was in 2005. Well, then it also helps you as well, because you're going to want to go in and look to see, when you're writing your big paper, you're going to want to go back through your little assignments and be like, oh, I remember I wrote about, that one quote, and it's like, oh, what document was that in, or what page number was that? But this really just helps you keep everything in order and you don't lose anything. And then, yeah, I already kind of went over this, but this is the general format. Just going over the order one more time. Just make sure you have the commas separating everything, and then a period at the end. Excuse me. And then make sure you're putting that page number, because I noticed some people only put page numbers for a couple. But page number is the thing you really have to have for every single one. And that'll help you, because you'll be able to go back and find exactly where that quote is that you talked about or wrote about. And yeah, just make sure you have the commas separating everything, author, comma, title, comma, and then the parentheses, city, colon, publisher, comma, year, close the parentheses, put the comma, page number, period. Yep. And then one last thing, saving as a Doc.x. I really struggled with this, because last year I started having classes where they only wanted Doc.x, and I'm a PDF girl, so I'm like, oh, what's Doc.x? And I feel like some of you might be having problems with that too, I noticed. So the big thing, and I know this might differ depending on what computer you have. This is a MacBook, but I would imagine it'd be similar for other types of computers and laptops as well. So what you're going to want to do is go to the Save As button. This button right here, super, super important. It has like a little pencil on it. Different from this button, we want the Save As, not just the Save, because the Save just saves whatever work you've done thus far, so it doesn't delete anything. But the Save As will save it as a distinct document, if that makes sense. So when you're ready to save, when you're all done, ready to save as a Doc.x, hit the Save As button. And then the main thing, for me at least, is the On My Mac. This button is like super important, because if you just hit save right here, it's not gonna help. It's not gonna do anything, trust me. And then of course make sure that this says Doc.x. It automatically does that for me, but I don't know. If it has it in some other format for some reason, just make sure you put Doc.x. And then make sure you hit On My Mac. I would imagine maybe on another computer it just says On My blah blah blah. I don't know. But for me and for other fellow MacBook users, you want to hit On My Mac. And then from here, you will hit save. And that will save it as a Doc.x. And then you can go and submit it. And you might even want to change the title, because sometimes people get like multiple versions and you want to make sure you're submitting the right version. So I would say like final copy, or like whatever. So, something to distinguish it, just so you know that's the one you're submitting. So yeah, if you're ever struggling, like, why isn't this saving right? Why is the Doc.x not showing up? For me, it was always because I wasn't hitting that On My Mac button. So that's the main thing for me. It's just I was not hitting that button. So just want to point that out, put that out there. This button is super important, at least for me on the MacBook. I'm not sure what the other computers might look like. The saving process might be a little different, but I just want to throw that out there because I know MacBooks are pretty popular. A lot of people have them. So make sure you're hitting that On My Mac button. And then, like I said, it might help to just like change the title a little bit, just so you know that's the final copy that you're submitting. Because sometimes I get left with like a bunch of different versions. I'm like, which one am I submitting? So yeah, change the title. I really hope this helped you guys. If you have any question at all, I promise you there are no dumb questions. Feel free to stay back after class or email us. You can communicate with us through the comment boxes on Canvas. So yeah, we're here to help. Thanks for watching.